Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a pretty huge problem. Why so many big, expensive AI projects are set up to fail. But more importantly, we're going to look at a radical new way of thinking about leadership that might be the only thing that can save them.
So let's just jump right in with a number that should make everyone pause. By 2027, it's predicted that a staggering 40% of all enterprise AI agent projects are going to be canceled. Just poof, gone. That is a massive, massive failure rate for a technology that's supposed to be the future.
So what is going on here? You'd think the problem is the tech, right? The code, the algorithms, but it's not. According to Gartner's analysis, the single biggest risk is human. It's about leadership, it's about governance, and it's about what they call decision hygiene, which is really just a way of saying, how good are we really at making smart choices under pressure?
Okay, so to really get why our current leadership models are starting to crack, we have to understand the completely new world they're trying to operate in.
You've probably heard of VUCA. Well, you can kind of forget that. The new acronym on the block is BANI, and it paints a much clearer picture of today. We're in a world that is brittle, meaning systems that looked strong can just shatter overnight. It's anxious, fueling this constant low-level stress. It's nonlinear, where cause and effect are totally disconnected. You do A, and Z happens. And it's incomprehensible, where a lot of the time we just can't make sense of what's happening anymore.
So in that kind of environment, the old idea of a leader as the expert with all the answers, it's just obsolete. The job description has fundamentally changed. It's not about having the answers anymore. It's about making meaning out of the chaos. It's about building repeatable habits for the whole team to make sense of what's going on so they can actually move forward.
So, if the world is fundamentally confusing, how on earth do you protect the quality of your decisions? How do you build an organization that doesn't just survive, but is actually resilient?
Well, it starts with a huge mental shift. We absolutely have to stop thinking about coaching as some nice-to-have perk for executives or a fix-it tool for a struggling manager. We have to start seeing it as core organizational infrastructure, just as critical as your IT network or your cybersecurity.
And this is a brilliant illustration of what that infrastructure actually looks like. It's a four-layer stack. The foundation is building that sense-making capability we talked about. But that only works if it's built on a bedrock of relational trust. And you build both of those through consistent practice loops. Then, you wrap the whole thing in a layer of governance that's based on clear, measurable expectations.
All right, so now let's get to the really cool part, how this new infrastructure creates a powerful new partnership between us, the humans, and the machines.
It's this idea of parallel intelligence. You let the AI do what it's amazing at: scale, repetition, providing consistent feedback through simulations and practice scenarios. It can do that all day long. And that frees up the humans, the leaders, and the coaches to do the work that only we can do, the messy, complex stuff of interpretation, ethics, judgment, and building real trust.
Now, what's really fascinating when you look at the data is who is getting this kind of support. It is no longer just for the C-suite. Look at this. It's being pushed out across the entire organization. And the largest group? It's the mid to senior managers, that absolutely critical middle layer that has the tough job of turning strategy into reality on the ground.
Okay, but here's the reality check. If you're going to start calling coaching critical infrastructure, the old way of justifying the budget just isn't going to fly. So how do you actually prove its value to the business?
The answer is to change what you're measuring. You have to shift your focus from ROI to ROE. Think about it. Return on investment is a lagging indicator. It tells you what happened in the past, and it's almost impossible to prove that coaching caused that financial bump. But return on expectations, that's a leading indicator. It's about agreeing upfront on the specific observable changes in behavior you want to see.
And this is what an ROE contract looks like in practice. It's not fuzzy. Before anything starts, you sit down and define the outcomes. We want to see faster decision velocity. Okay, great. How are we going to verify that, and who's responsible for verifying it? Suddenly, success becomes tangible, it's observable, and everybody's accountable.
So this all sounds great in theory, right? But what's the actual playbook? How do you make this real inside your own organization?
Well, here's a 5-step, 18-day plan to get started. Step 1, make it official. Reclassify coaching as infrastructure in your budget. Step 2, write those ROE contracts first before you spend a dime. Define success.
3. Build out the system of AI-powered practice loops. 4. Govern that AI like your reputation depends on it, because it does. And finally, number 5, localize. Don't just copy-paste. And that localization piece, it is absolutely non-negotiable. Just look at the data. The fastest growing market for coaching in the entire world is the Asia-Pacific region. You simply cannot take a Western, one-size-fits-all model and expect it to work there. You have to have deep contextual and cultural intelligence.
And as you're building this out, you have to be on high alert for these common traps. Things like surveillance creep, where the AI tools start to feel like Big Brother and destroy trust. Or ROI theater, where you're just chasing vanity metrics. And please remember, coaching is not a band-aid you can slap on a fundamentally broken system or a toxic culture.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this one simple but powerful question that every leader needs to ask themselves. Is your investment in your people creating a series of disconnected, one-off events? Or are you actually building a durable, resilient infrastructure that will support the entire organization for years to come?
Because in the BANI world, with AI accelerating everything, just hoping for good decisions isn't a strategy. It's a recipe for disaster. The real goal here is to stop treating good decisions like a lucky coincidence and start building them as a core capability. That is the new operating system for leadership.